but it's not allowing me to do it.
Oh, it says
Goodness
recording.
me. Yeah, it's
Oh, and
recording,
it's
but it's also transcribing. I don't
transcribing,
want
yeah.
it to transcribe. I don't want it to transcribe.
So wait,
Stop
why do you
transcribe.
record it? To send it to me, or?
Sorry, well, I will load this onto YouTube.
No, I'm saying, how
Okay.
come why do you record it?
Yeah,
Is it to send it to me?
it's to put on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so it's about YouTube. You seeing my slide there, Boya?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect.
Dominant research tradition paradigms.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. I have to see how it records as well, whether I can actually stick it on YouTube, but that's for another day. Okay, so every one of these paradigms will have these positions included in them.
Okay.
Depending on the paradigm, each of these positions would be different. So each of these positions will be found within each of the paradigms. However, within each paradigm, the position would be different. So when we look at the epistemological position, it really is that third question that is important to me. What counts as knowledge? So if I say to my son, what is knowledge? He will say to me, knowledge is stuff that you can prove through stats and numbers.
Okay.
What counts as knowledge for me is accurately reflecting people's experiences, their perceptions, their concerns around a particular thing. In our example of the person who has the accident, from a knowledge perspective, talking to the witnesses, it would be to accurately portray what they had said. From the accident investigator's perspective, knowledge will be the detail around how long the skid mark was, how soon the person responded, what is the normal reaction time of an individual, what speed would that person have likely traveled at, how much is that speed over the limit.
Okay.
So the second one, so in terms of epistemology, what is knowledge? What counts as knowledge? Stats and numbers, if you're my kid. For me, it's portraying what people had felt, had experienced, their perceptions, etc. Because I am very much more inclined towards being interpretivist, where I think you and my son are very much positivist.
Is interpretators, is that more ontological?
No, don't worry about that. Interpretivism is, remember we looked at those three options. So within positivism, within interpretivism, you'll have an epistemological position, you'll have an ontological position. So each of those traditions would have their own position in terms of how they view things. Remember what I said yesterday, it is the lens that you look at your research through. Okay, it's the lens that you look at your research through. So every one of those positions would be present within each one of the paradigms or the traditions. Okay, so the second one is, and it's the middle question, okay, boy, for me, what is reality and how do we know it's real? For my son, reality is stuff that he can reduce to numbers and stats. It's for him, reality is non-negotiable. Reality is H2O, which is water. Any other combination of those two components means zero. So he would argue that H2O is water. When I have to ask somebody about water, I would say to them, tell me about your best experience around water. And people would explain coming on a lake and having a swim and having a moment, because for me, that is what I actually value. Okay, that is what I see as being real, that kind of emotion. And yes, H2O is obviously what water is, and I'm not going to argue that with my son, but he would argue that there is no such thing as your own reality. Reality is something objective, separate from the individual. For me, reality is my individual experience.
So I'll say, as in terms of, I know it's off topic, but in terms of people's personality, do you think they can be a positive? They can have both, like a critical realism.
You see, so if you were going to assess that accident from a critical realist perspective, you would look at that perspective, the reality of what people had experienced, plus the reality of the reaction time, the skid marks, the actual speed that the person was traveling at.
Interpretism.
Okay. Now that would be positivism, whereas interpretivism would be, it's my experience. It's what I saw. This is what I saw happen in the accident. And that's what my reality is. So in terms of positivism, there's one single reality, which is verifiable through stats and numbers. From an ontological perspective, reality has multiple options. Those 5 people that watched the accident, each would have their own reality, because 2 people don't experience things in the same way. From a meta-theoretical perspective, so here it is about the theory about theory. So it really is how we view theory, what the assumptions are around those theories. So for my son, the assumptions are non-negotiable. It is something that's verifiable scientifically. For me, the assumption is that people have their own perceptions, their own point of view. And then methodological. And again, so each of those traditions have their own methodology. Qualitative fits perfectly with interpretivism. Quantitative fits perfectly with positivism. And then the combination, as we discussed yesterday, is your critical realism. And then your axiological position. So when we talk about axiology, we talk about what we value. So for me, as an interpretivist, I value getting insight into people's emotions, experiences, perceptions. My son values what can be proven through stats and numbers. He's not interested in people's perceptions. He wants stuff that is hard and fast. Now, remember, he writes artificial intelligence, and in terms of writing AI, you are working with high-level math. You're working with high-level coding. So he would argue what I can code is what I value. And again, it's numbers and stats. So those different positions form part very much of of each of the traditions, and they look a bit like this, boy. So I put in a couple of slides, and you'll see it makes a lot more sense here. So if we look at positivism, so when the moment you think positivism, you think numbers and stats, right? When we think interpretivism, you immediately think emotions, perceptions, how people view the world. And then critical realism, it really is about a combination of the two. But the key thing is about finding the sort of illusions, finding those mistakes that we believe may exist. Because remember, their job is to empower. So here, ontology. So if we go back to ontology again, sorry, where? If we go back to ontology, what do we consider to be real in terms of what a positivist views? It is that sort of reality governed by laws, H2O. If you mix 2 H's and 1 O, you've got water. In terms of here, multiple realities. 4 people will view the same situation and have their own individual experience from there. I always think of when we have drug raids at my full-time campus. There are some of my students that are so petrified of the dogs that they start sweating through their eyeballs. And then there are other kids that just want to pet the dog. And it is a single reality, but it has so many different interpretations.
Okay. So that
Epistemology,
would be interpretivism.
oh yeah, very much interpretivism. Okay, so it's under interpretivism there. And then
Okay.
here in critical realism, not that we, yeah, no, but you have to write about this. I think that reality depends on where you grew up, where you live, what your race is, what your disability, what your gender, and we know there are multiple genders, and your reality is essentially shaped by those things that would have been part of your nature, and you would have discussed in your degree nature versus
Are
nurture.
there multiple genders now?
Sorry, Boya?
Are there still multiple genders?
They're 73 or something, boy. They're 73.
Do we have to write on that?
No, not at all. Don't
Okay.
focus on the silly
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
It's just that,
because Donald Trump said there's only two now.
sorry, boy.
Donald Trump said there's only two.
Donald Trump is an idiot. Donald Trump
Mm.
should be taken aside and beaten with a baseball bat. I can't stand that individual.
Did you see what he said about South Africa?
Yeah,
Radical.
yeah, but they yeah, but also I think he picks a fight in order to come out powerful. My favorite is he's now got Canada to agree to a bunch of things, and he's now got Mexico so that he wouldn't implement the tariffs. Those things were agreed during Joe Biden's time. So he's just reaffirmed stuff that Joe Biden had already agreed. I can't stand that individual. I honestly think if
But
he
even
that
Elon Musk is acting like a lunatic as well.
Musk is insane. I think he's lost his marbles.
Did you
I
see what
mean,
he did?
they
He
are
did that.
treating
That's.
laws with impunity.
I mean, they're doing stuff like salutes and like bringing like don't do stuff
Yeah, well,
that can
that
be
that is
misinterpreted and stuff.
ridiculous. That is
Yeah.
that Nazi salute was bloody
But first
ridiculous.
he said it was a Roman salute. That's what the
That's
article.
horse manure.
Yeah, but the thing is, my point is, if it's so closely, it looks so similar. Don't do either one. Don't put yourself in the
That's
limelight.
exactly the point, boy.
Yeah,
That is exactly the point. That is exactly the point. So just to take that salute, if we
yeah.
were looking at it from a positivism perspective, we would have compared his arm movements with those of Nazi Germany because we can measure where your arm should be, etc. From an interpretivist perspective, it is our perceptions. And for me, he did a Nazi salute. I think he might not have meant it. I think he got carried away.
But the thing
But
is, no one even knows what a Roman salute is. I had to Google it. I only found. So, you
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? So it's leaving things to open to interpretation where you shouldn't even have done anything in the first place. You could have just bowed his
exactly
head and
that,
respect
Boyer.
this one.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
In terms of the idea of what reality is from a critical realism, it would depend on if you're a skinhead living in Germany, you would
Yeah.
be beside yourself with joy. If you were a Jew who grew up during World War II and ended up in a concentration camp, you would be appalled. Because so your reality is really dependent on where you came from.
Okay.
Okay. So epistemology, where here we create laws, but specifically to predict and control. So we have a lot of tests, and you might have batteries of tests, gone through batteries of tests before you were appointed here at your current organization, whether it's an aptitude, an IQ, etc. For for positivism to be at play, that generalizable law would be that IQ test, would be the test making predictions around whether you would have integrity at work, because you get integrity scales and a range of other things. You'll see some of those. So a generalizable law is the law of gravity. We're not going to argue what the theory of gravity or the law of gravity is. It's can be proven. It's existed forever. In terms of what we see as knowledge, it is that ability to accurately reflect those perceptions. It's that emphatic understanding of the concerns, the perceptions of other individuals. In terms of epistemology here, it's Mythbusters. It's just to destroy myths. Here, what we do, and we see, and some of the stuff I don't agree with, but you would have been at varsity, maybe two. No, you would have been there when they did the decolonize education. I
Yeah,
don't know if you.
when they were burning down, when they were like vandalizing statues.
Yeah, well, that as well, but decolonizing, getting rid of colonial studies. And so, one of the things you'll hear from me in the honors program is that from a critical theory perspective, critical theory says that we must never accept anything at face value. Because a lot of those theories, like I'm just going to use a silly one, Maslow, has existed for 100 years.
Or the
But
Maslow
who
hierarchy.
says Maslow? Yeah, that Maslow rubbish. Who says it's accurate? But we still see it in textbooks. What critical realism is, it's about challenging existing thought processes. And then your meta theory, objective, subjective, you tell a story. And here, how will we empower? Decolonize the education. I'm not going to go into that. I used to at UKZN and have to teach that. And then methodology, you now know, quantitative, numbers and stats, qualitative, we look at interpreting through coding, etc., and we'll worry about that. And here you have quantitative, number and stats, that kind of coding, interpretivist stuff, and then also verification. So you verify in terms of triangulation whether what you found, in fact, is accurate. And then your axiology, no value. Here we don't judge people, and the focus there is equality. Don't worry too much about those, Boyo. I'm not going to go through those. They're not needed for your studies. I've got another one here, and I'm not going to go through each of these slides. It takes those three and it gives you a nice understanding, positivism, knowledge that is there through science, knowledge as in being able to understand other people's views. And then here, how do we allow people to change their world? Here, reality is external. Reality depends on where you look at the accident from. And then depending on where you are, your values will change over time. And that's why, and I'm not going to go into this discussion, but that's why people now have fluid genders. I believe there are two genders, but it's a personal opinion. There's three genders, because you also get the Castor Semenias of the world, which is
So,
intersexed. She
and
has
that's like
internal male organs.
that's by birth. It's not like she chose that.
No, well, she's born like that. So
Yeah, but
she has,
the other people are just choosing stuff and making up new terms and stuff.
well, there's some weird stuff
So
going on.
that's what I don't like is because where do you draw the line? People identifying
Yeah.
penguins.
But boy, we've got to be so careful now. Hey,
Yeah, with cancel
um,
culture and stuff. No, yeah, I understand. With like you can lose your job and stuff.
yeah, in
But I mean, we
Canada,
grew up. Yeah,
if you label somebody a certain gender, it is considered to be a criminal offense. So
but
you can't say hi, Miss. Hi. It is it's a real issue, and it's become
it's
very
weird
difficult.
if you look at how we grew up. We only grew up knowing two genders.
Yeah, no, it's well, I'm expected now in class, and I'm now being recorded, which I don't like, but I'm expected in class to ask my students what
But
their
they didn't.
preferred pronouns are.
I mean, you can see with my voice and my name, I'm a man. I wouldn't want anyone
Mhm.
to ask
Well,
me
that's
about
the
this.
problem, boy. That's the
Yeah,
problem. We had to go through sensitivity training last year because of a event that happened. I went through the first one. I've been doing this stuff since 1998. I've been, my master's degree is in labor law, so I used to write employment equity plans and stuff. So I went to the one and I refused to sit being talked at by people who don't really understand things. So it is a real issue, boy. It is a
especially the
real
problem
issue.
is, I think cancel culture restricts freedom of speech.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, like they'll say it's hate speech, but like it's actually not.
Yeah. You'll hear me say when I start lecturing, I have a really bad habit of referring to everyone, male and female, as hey
Boyo.
guys. No,
Oh.
boy, you boyo. Girls, I don't have it. Boyo is when you get called boyo, it means that you're in a good position, because I don't
Yeah,
call
I
people I
know. My
don't
my
like
uncles used to
that.
call me
Let
that.
me tell you
My
that.
uncles used to call me Boyo.
Yeah.
My uncles, yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm in class, I'll say, "Hey guys, come on, we got to work."
Yeah,
And for
but
me, when I say that, it's gender neutral. It's everyone, and it's an accepted term. People talk like that. Come on, guys, let's do this. In
because
class,
guys
we
used
have
to just
the
be like a group of people. You say like, "Hey guys," or something like
yeah,
that.
exactly, exactly. I said it in a meeting, and someone said there are ladies here as well, and I thought, oh, I can't
So
deal
what
with
must you
this.
say? Hey people, then someone will say their
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, no, I don't know, and you can't say ladies and gentlemen, so. It's very frustrating, boy, very frustrating. I've been very good. I haven't gone into trouble over it yet. But you'll see, I'll discuss oh, flipping heck, I've got to discuss this in class with, I can't even deal with that. Okay, boy, meta theory. So here it is about predicting events, causal and causation. So, drink alcohol, not able to drive. And here it is to reflect people's understanding of their realities. And here it is to allow people to create. Your theory must allow people to create a better world. Methodology, always objective, that's quantitative. Subjective, that's always qualitative, and that mixed methods. And then axiology, I think here we are truth and reason, numbers and stats, valued, I think, uniqueness and understanding people and their own views of the world. That's what I value. Here, it's about allowing people to break the shackles of the past. Okay. So if we look at this now, this is NB, Boya, in terms of your answering the first assignment. Okay. So you'll
Okay.
do a bit of a description of what positivism is, what interpretivism is, and what critical reality. And you can go back to the initial slides here. So hold on a second. Goodness me. Okay, so you'll definitely use that slide. So it's slide 28. Okay.
Okay.
I would have a brief description of epistemology, ontology, meta theory, methodology, and axiology, okay, of what it really is. And then I would discuss it in relation to each of positivism, interpretivism, critical realism. Now, remember, you are
Thinking that
writing a
talk is
sit
very
down
important too.
you're writing a sit down exam where, so I would just copy this out and just, I wouldn't worry
Oh, okay.
about plagiarism or anything. We worry about plagiarism when you submit, if this was a type submission, but you're writing an exam.
So
Okay.
this will be at a venue
Yeah, we'll sort the venue. Tammy is incredibly busy, so we'll sort you out. Well, don't worry about
because it
that.
has to be according on my provisional acceptance. It said it
Yeah.
has to be completed before the 21st of Feb.
Well, we can't write it on the 11th.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
going to
I know.
try and give
We
you
can do it on
another
a
7
Saturday.
days. I'm pretty sure we can. So I'm looking that you write it on the 18th. It gives me a couple of days to mark it, and then we're done. So I'm
Okay.
thinking writing on the 18th.
Okay.
What is
Also,
the 18th?
let me check
I
on
can
my
see here.
calendar.
Hold on. No, I can see here.
The
So the
18th is a
18th is a
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah, we can write it on the Tuesday. I'll have it marked by the 21st.
So must I apply for study leave?
Oh, you absolutely must. We'll get you a letter and everything. We'll
Okay.
get you a letter from Tammy. Do you mind if I do this now quickly while I'm sitting here? Honestly, my life gets away from me in the day. I just want to find Tammy. Um, okay, boy, I'm just going to send her a message. Hi, T. Um, uh, sorry, there's a full-time job and won't be ready. Oh, come on, won't be ready by the 11th. Okay, I've sent a message. I will chat to her tomorrow. There are lots, and her and I have a lot to chat about. Okay, so that's done. That sorts me out. Okay, so the second bit is a brief description of each of these, and then aligning it with this here. I would use this slide. I would simply just copy it in. Truthfully, I would just copy it in. Now, there's a lot more information here. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all this. You can either do it this way. You can just write it like this, but don't get carried away by trying to go and do research. Simply copy the slides, get it looking like an essay, and that's your magic. Okay.
Wait, the questions in the exam is the same questions that you sent me.
Yeah, they're the
That-
questions. They're the ones I'm showing you here. They're the ones I'm showing you. I don't know if, oh, can you see these when I show you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because normally they don't allow that. Okay, okay, so that's that question there. So the slide you'll use will be that first one I said, what the heck did I say? It was there, slide 28, 29, and then, yeah, so here it just takes it further. The key slides for me are 28, 35, 36, 37. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then I've got more here. So you can copy a lot of stuff. So also page 39 and 40, you can copy. Just fudge something together that you can study from it and then just regurgitate in the exam.
Okay.
I would do this as soon as possible. I don't want you to go and kill yourself. The initial prep, just even if you copy direct, it's the study. You're not going to remember word for word direct from the slides in the exam.
Yeah, no, I'll learn that off by heart because tomorrow I'm working from home anyway, and work is
Yeah,
quiet at the moment, so I'll take that
yeah.
time.
So you can do a
But
bit of that question. Okay.
I can email the slides to my laptop, but I'm saying with regards to I'll try to set up my teams and stuff on my laptop.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, you've got to get that laptop sorted. I think that will make your life easier. I work with two screens. And, for me, two screens just work. So I'm talking to you, but I've got the stuff on the other screen and I flip between them. I've got a gaming screen, so it's a big one that I'm working with. Okay. Right. So nothing dramatic there. There's nothing we need to worry about. Yeah. So I'm not going to look at this. I want to jump ahead and I'll come back to this, but I want to finish question 1 first. Everything in research starts and finishes with your research question. You'll recall I said to you that if you don't have a research problem, you don't have a reason to do research, and you reflect the problem through your research question. Let me just make sure that I don't get this wrong. Research topics, questions. Okay, so I need to be on here. So we're looking at Learning Unit 2 now. I just want to flip up that. Okay, so we first of all will do the epistemology and all that stuff and the different paradigms, and then we'll look at how they would impact the research problem. It's not the research question, it's the research problem. Sorry about that. So we'll look at the research problem. Okay, so the research problem, just want to find it. Okay, here they are. Okay, so your research problem essentially is that you need to take a bit of notes here, is that deficiency that you want to investigate. It is the difference between the ideal and essentially what the existing situation is. So if you were to do research into morale in an organization, we would want a certain level of morale and productivity in an organization. If morale is low and it's impacting productivity, we need to find out what is causing that deficiency. So for me, unless you have an actual problem to solve, you don't have a bit of research. My student last year who looked at cybersecurity, there was a gap between having a perfectly secure system and having cyber attacks. And they wanted to see what was the cause of that gap, what caused. The problem is that in the ideal world, we would have a cyber secure system. However, we are prone to cybersecurity attacks. We have hacks and all of those things happening. So there's a clear problem that you want to investigate. If you think of your hair, the
Yeah.
problem was the ideal was that you would have a decent mop of hair.
Yeah.
The problem was is that you went bald.
Yeah.
So you need to know, and what are the solutions? You know, you
Yeah.
can wear a wig, you can dada, you know, it doesn't really matter, and you've chosen the right solution. But to get to that solution, you would have done research.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's
Yes.
very basic, cursory research. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, without a research problem, you don't have research. I'm going to talk about these. So it is something that will guide us in a way. So when you write your research problem, it has to guide you in such a way that you will arrive at some sort of solution. It's something that's researchable. It's not so confusing and so badly written and not clearly understood that it won't give you a solution. And it has to be reality. It has to be feasible. We should be able to work on it. So you could want to research why there's corruption in a certain government department. But if you're not allowed access to, it's not feasible for you to do that. Scope, the one thing that I will talk about is to narrow your scope all the time. Yes, it might be too narrow, but we do not want a broad scope. And then we need to see how it will add to theoretical value. My students' contribution to theoretical value was in cybersecurity was to make recommendations on how to create cyber secure systems. And it has to be relevant. It is something that is of importance right now. Well, you're going to have to give me 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, no
Please
worries.
excuse me.